Hello everyone and welcome to the VitalPet installation video. Today we're going to be taking the Digital Monster Vital Bracelet and installing it into a VitalPet. So there's going to be a lot going on in this video. There's going to be timestamps down below as well, so you should be able to find which particular section that you need. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Some of the required tools that you're going to need are going to be a Phillips head screwdriver, although a flathead bit or some kind of prying tool is going to be very useful as well. I strongly recommend that you've got something like that. Not required, but also very, very, very recommended is going to be an X-Acto knife or some kind of very sharp and small blade. And then potentially some flush cutters could be potentially useful as well, but you could really make do with just everything that you see here. Other than that, obviously you're gonna need your Vital bracelet, and if you've ever taken apart a Vital bracelet for something like the Vital Watch kit, the first portion of this is going to be pretty familiar to you. Now, with the included packages here, this, at the time of recording, is for my Kickstarter that we originally shipped out units to, so depending on when you're watching this, you may or may not have the same contents here, but you should have a VitalPet kit. And then within the kit, of course, it should have a sliding door, a sliding dim compartment, and then a sliding dim cover, as well as free Digimon card, and then a QR code with the instructions on how to get to this particular video. So if you made it this far, congratulations. And then within this package as well, you should see your glass for the screen, 2 buttons, a USB-C adapter, and then a power switch as well. And depending on what you ordered, you may also have a nylon back belt clip here, as well as, you know, another back cover that matches yours. This is for a different unit, so obviously it's not going to go here. And then there should be some screws as well. So we'll talk about this when the time comes, but those are all of the included contents within a package, depending on what you ordered. So we're going to go ahead and move this to the side just for now, and we're going to go ahead and look at the Vital bracelet. So the first thing that we need to do is take this guy apart and get all the contents that we need to insert into our VitalPet. So we're going to go ahead and just get all this out of the way for a moment. So that's what we are concerned with. We'll get everything else out of the way. All right, so we've got our original Vital bracelet. Let's do a quick check to make sure that everything looks good. Okay, cool. So what we're gonna go ahead and do is power off your Vital bracelet, and let's go ahead and remove this. And there are 2 screws back here that we wanna go ahead and remove. So these are gonna be for the bands. We're gonna go ahead and unscrew these. And then when you're removing these, what you want to do is, if you want to avoid any further damage, you want to try to remove and pry these parts up top first, and then pull down. That helps prevent the scratching that comes up here oftentimes. It's not necessary, and you can technically brute force this, but you know, if you're worried about the shell of this for any particular reason, you want to avoid putting any damage or stress on there. So here, there should be 4 more screws, so 2 on each side. We're going to go ahead and remove those really quickly. And we're just going to set these screws aside. All right, so we've got all 4 of those removed. What we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and take out this DIM card tray. Let's go ahead and remove the USB cover as well. You just got to take it out like that. And what we're going to do now is we're going to gently pry on both sides. And you're going to feel a little bit of resistance. That resistance is actually coming from the buttons and the screen. So once you've got it, be careful because the buttons will fall out like so. And then there is a ribbon cable, 2 ribbon cables holding both the screen and the NFC reader. So we do want to be careful not to break those. On the other side here, you'll notice that there are 2 more Phillips head screws. We're going to go ahead and get rid of those. They are different size if you're keeping track of these. So just a heads up. Let's go ahead and get rid of that. And then get rid of this. Okay, so once those are removed, you should be able to gently butterfly this open like so. And you'll notice I said gently because there are the heart rate sensor here and the speakers that are actually still attached, and we don't want to damage anything. So just gently remove that, and then you'll see this power switch here. We can go ahead and pop that off. So we'll move that to the side. And we're gonna briefly talk about the speaker and the heart rate sensor. So going over both of them really quickly, the heart rate sensor is held in by these two soldered in plastic pegs. And what they do is they literally just take a hot solder and they kind of smush this down, and that creates kind of like this little stopper. And we want to take some kind of pry tool or a flathead screwdriver, and we're gonna reach under here and then just pop it open. Now what you could do is, if you have like flush cutters, you can actually kind of come in here and you can try to remove a bit of plastic like that. And that makes the removal process a lot easier. Now, if you don't have that, or you don't really want to do that, you can actually just take a screwdriver and then pop it open. I've done it in the past many times. And there's no, as long as you're being careful about it, there's no real damage associated with doing so. You're able to just kind of nudge it open. Actually, this one is pretty loose already, which is good, like that. So then it just pops right open. So the next part, I'm probably gonna have to do off camera, but I wanna talk about it. It's the speaker wire. Actually, there's a little bit of that melted plastic I was just talking about. I got it over here. So with the speaker wire, what we wanna do is we wanna be very careful, because you'll notice here on this side, there is a lot more of that soldered on plastic that they use. They just kind of melted it on top of the speaker. And then depending on your vital bracelet, there may be some or a lot of glue. And this one has a little bit of glue on the side here and on there. And what you want to do is you really want to avoid pulling on this red wire, because this red wire is incredibly sensitive and is liable to just pop off. The contact points are just not that strong. The goal is we want to take something really small and sharp like this X-Acto knife, and we want to get under the speaker and kind of slice around to kind of breaking that plastic. And then we can take the flat side, or we can just, take this side and then just pop it out. Now, what I like to do personally is I gently pull the black wire. The black wire has a lot more adhesive on it, so it is a lot sturdier, but it is still susceptible to damage. But I like to pull it just ever so gently so I can get the bottom of my knife under it, and then I will cut around it. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that off camera just really quickly, because I need all the extra space to not damage this. But you do want to take your time. Don't pull excessively. You want to be very gentle with it. And actually here, I was able to do this off camera really quickly. Let me show you. But here you can see that my knife is under the speaker. So now I'm gonna just kind of slice around, and I don't really have a lot of space with my camera kind of in the way. So I'm gonna see if I can do this on camera still. I was kind of able to get it. I'm gonna do this off camera. Sorry, guys. There we go. Okay, so here it should just pop out like that. And now you can see that I've still got my speaker intact. And what you can do to check is you can power the thing on, and then you can hit a button or two and see if it still makes sound. So. One thing about these piezoelectric speakers is that they actually do need something to resonate off of to make a lot of sound. So what they actually ended up doing was they glued it onto the device, kind of creating some like vibration echo chamber type thing. So one thing that you can do when you remove this is I hold it just gently like this, and you'll notice some extra sound. When the time comes to actually install it into the VitalPet, if you're the kind of person who likes a lot of sound, you should consider maybe hot gluing it or something along those lines. I'm personally not really big into sound, so we won't be doing it for this video. I've seen a lot of people also just use like electrical tape is another good example. So just kind of depending on how loud you like these things. If you like them really loud, then you should glue them. I personally find them a little bit too loud, so I don't really do it, and it's kind of a disclaimer that I leave to my customers, so just a heads up. But now we've got this guy here. We're gonna remove all of the extra stuff out of the way, because we really are only concerned with this here. Now the battery, we're gonna go ahead and pry this out. There is this large chunk of adhesive in the DIMM cover. So we're gonna go ahead and just kind of pry these out just gently like that. And then you'll notice a couple of things here. This dim cover has a really big tendency to just kind of come loose. If this falls out, just make sure you don't lose it because we do need that still. And then on the back side of this battery, we're gonna kind of just flip this over real quick. The back side of this battery, there's an adhesive. We're gonna go ahead and remove this adhesive because we don't really need it. All right. And with that, we've got the internals of our Vital bracelet fully removed, and we're ready to go ahead and begin the next portion, which is with the Vital Pet shell. So I'm gonna set this aside just for a brief second. And with the Vital Pet, this should be pretty straightforward. There are 6 screws on the back. We're gonna go ahead and remove those. Now, if you're wondering why the screws are pre-installed, it's because I actually hand tension everything here. So I double check and I sand to make sure that the pressure and tension here and the friction is exactly the way that I felt it should be, as well as the sliding door. If for any particular reason you don't like the tension and you want to make it looser, you can sand this a little bit further, but I think when everyone receives these, they should be pretty happy with the overall feeling of them. So we're gonna go ahead and remove these 6 screws. Now one little, switch to the right bit. One little thing that I do recommend for the installation of this is that when you're unscrewing these, perhaps maybe not unscrew them all the way, maybe kind of just go to here, because these are actually 2 pieces. The mid frame is its own separate piece, and it is a little bit easier for the reassembly process to kind of just keep these in one piece. It's not the end of the world if you do remove all the screws. It just takes you another couple seconds to line everything up. It's really no big deal, but I've taken enough of these apart that I know that for convenience, it's better to just kind of do this and then kind of butterfly it open like so. So one other thing as well, if you have this back piece, and we're gonna move the little dim card compartment. If you have this back piece, you may notice that, wait a minute, some people have belt clips. What you can do is you can remove these 3 screws, and those 3 screws will go in here with your belt clip. So you'll notice that this should have your plastic mid frame in between. So basically you would swap out these 2 back plates and then you would screw this instead like so. And that should give you a very sturdy back plate. These nylon back plates, for anyone curious, I have a prototype. People were wondering about the durability of these, and they are, I don't think I can break this. And I cannot break these. I've stood on them. I had my 200 and something pound friend stand on this thing. We've thrown them across the production hall in which these were manufactured. These are incredibly, incredibly tough. So you shouldn't have any issues with these, but they are made of nylon. This is the base one without any kind of dye or anything like that. So just these are pretty pretty tough. All right, so let's get this guy out of the way, and then let's talk about the backside here. So one thing is that if you have the sliding door, this is going to pop out. What I like to do personally is I like to kind of just slide it in the up position, so that way we're not going to lose it. And then we can look at the rest of the contents within this little kit here. So we're gonna go ahead and remove everything out of here for a second. And then we're gonna get our glass. Now, glass is glass. I shouldn't have to tell you that you wanna make sure that this is clean before you install it. So if you need to go off camera and spray it with some glasses cleaner, take a microfiber cloth to it, all of that good stuff, go ahead and do that now. So I should have done that. I should have done that off camera before we started recording, but that is A-okay. And you're gonna go ahead and just insert the glass into the body. So that should just kind of perfectly fit inside there like so. What we're gonna do next is we're gonna take our Vital bracelet internals, and then you'll notice that there's a side with the charger and the buttons. You're gonna go one ahead and then plop this right in like so, and it should just kind of perfectly fit and slide in. Now you'll notice that there is a little bit of tension. This is perfectly tensioned in such a way that you'll kind of like slide it down and then in, and then you'll hear that kind of like snap. If you don't hear that snap, that's perfectly fine, but this thing is tensioned in such a way that you should really feel the kind of pressure going in. It's like perfectly fitted. We're also going to take the DIMM card slot and we're going to go ahead and put this back in. And again, with the way that this is built, it should stay in place once we install everything as well. So you won't have to worry about this falling out without any glue or anything like that. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this battery. I'm going to move the wire out of the way, and then we're going to insert our battery. Now the battery, it does kind of get sandwiched in between. So you'll notice me kind of angling it here. And what's happening, actually, maybe I can show you, because I happen to have another one of these laying around. What we're gonna do, the goal is you wanna sandwich the battery, you wanna sandwich the battery in between the board and the screen. So it's gonna be kind of in between here, and it's gonna be angling downward just a little bit. So what we want is our battery is going to sit in between here, and what we can do is you can take a pry tool, an X-Acto knife or something, and use it kind of like a fulcrum to kind of just leverage it up and then down. So you'll notice here that you can see it's at an angle and it's sandwiched in between the screen and the board. With the screen as well, you should also notice that there are these two little plastic insert pegs. There's one right here, and then there's one over here. And this is the screen itself. So to make sure that the screen is aligned with the board, these want to be inserted properly. So if you did that, if the battery cover is angled downward, sandwiched in between, like so, and then you've got those pegs still intact, you should be good. As a quick test, we're gonna go ahead and power this on, and we're gonna flip it over, and we're just gonna make sure that there's no dust. If you guys have ever seen me on Twitch, you know that I get dust in these things all the time, and I install everything only to find out that I have to uninstall everything. So this looks pretty good. There's no sign of dust, no nothing. Everything looks great. I'm gonna go ahead and turn this back off, and then we can focus on some of the other portions here. So the next thing that we wanna do is we wanna take the USB-C adapter, and then we're gonna take the little prong side of the micro USB, and then we're just gonna go ahead and install that. Like so. And you can lift up the board just a tiny bit before lifting it back down. That is something that you can do. You just gotta be careful with those little prongs that things don't get knocked out of place. I don't really like lifting it up, but sometimes you just kind of have to. The next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna take these two buttons, and you'll notice that the buttons have little notches. And what you wanna do is you wanna make sure that the notch side is facing toward the power switch and the rest of the VitalPet, like so. Like that, and then like this. Now with this one, the one toward the wires, you wanna make sure that the wires don't get in the way. One thing about these two wires here is that you want them tucked beneath this power switch here, and then you want these out of the way of this button. So right here is perfect, but you know, you kind of click the buttons, make sure that they sound good, make sure that they feel good, and then you could take this little power switch here, and then you can place this on top. And what I mean from the wires is that this is going to slide back and forth. You want to make sure right here, this is perfect, that these wires don't get caught in the way. And you can see that they're under the power switch. That's what we're looking for. So we're going to turn that off. And then we're going to take our back plate. Now this part gets a little tricky. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that the heart rate sensor is placed inside of here. And you'll notice the heart rate sensor has this little like light module piece, and that needs to go inside of here. I recommend a pry tool to kind of nudge this in place, because we're gonna have to kind of sandwich this in between these two portions. And you'll notice here that there's this large protrusion, and what that's gonna do is that it's going to hold the door in place right here. And this is kind of like a two-part door. So these two get sandwiched in so that this little sliding door can move around freely without doing any damage. So what you want to do is you're going to place this, let me see if I can get this sideways. You're going to place this piece here inside, and I'm going to kind of fold this in. And actually, before we do that, let's kind of lightly tuck the speaker wire in so that this has a little bit of memory, maybe? Okay. So we're going to go ahead and sandwich this down. And actually, I'm going to do this like so. And you should notice that the door portion should just kind of go in with the rest of this. So here, oops. There we go. So here, start with this part. And then before you close this down entirely, what you want to do is you want to look through this way, and you want to use your little pry tool. And you can see here that my heart rate sensor is like kind of going diagonal down this way. You want to kind of place this in such a way that it goes in its little socket. So you do kind of need to gently, oops, I'm off camera, my apologies. You do want to kind of gently nudge it into place. And then the same thing kind of goes to the speaker wire. You want to nudge that into place and then have them kind of slot in. And then you want to just gently press on everything. You don't want to press too hard because things should kind of just fall into place. And this portion here does take a little bit of patience and finesse. It's also really hard to do on camera. All right, so there, we're looking better, looking better. Got a little wire sticking out here, so we're gonna kind of just nudge it out of the way. Okay. And then once you got everything in place, like this is looking pretty good. So once everything is like flat like this, and it's just kind of been nudged into place, you've confirmed that you're not like smacking any wires. Now we can go ahead and screw everything in. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm gonna watch this video back and then feel like an idiot when I did all that off camera. So my sincerest apologies. But the idea behind that is that you want to make sure that everything kind of just falls into place, and you kind of want to neatly tuck all of the pieces in with your pry tool or with your X-Acto knife. So when you screw things in, you don't end up squishing anything. And then these should screw back in neatly. Okay, and then just to make sure that everything still works, we're gonna go ahead and turn this on. Looks good. We're gonna go ahead and slide our little door around, make sure that doesn't feel too bad. We're gonna go ahead and pop the DIMM card slot in, make sure that's got proper tension. Oh, you can hear sound. Hit our buttons. Okay, sweet. So everything looks good thus far. The next thing that we got to do now is install the firmware with the upgrade memory. So with the upgrade memory, we do actually need to make sure that we are in a place where we can insert a DIMM card. So we're gonna just go through all this really quickly. And then it's telling us now to insert a DIMM card. So we're gonna go ahead and slot this guy in like so. Now, I need to make a really big note that you need to make sure that this is inserted in all the way. Please make sure that, when you're doing this, that it's not just halfway inserted or it gets removed during the process. You want to make sure that this stays in. You don't have to hold it like I am. I've gone through so many test units that I just get paranoid, but you do want to make sure that things are properly inserted when working on this. I'm going to kind of just angle this to the side because my camera doesn't really like to pick up the VB's bright screen all the time. So we're going to kind of just move this on diagonally like so. And similar to any other vital bracelet, DIMM, these take a couple of moments. So we'll give it a second here, let it do its thing. Do not remove the upgrade memory. Please do not remove the upgrade memory. We'll just give it a moment here. Okay, so now we've got upgrade memory version VIP by Heat and Cyanic. All right, so sweet. So now you can hit the bottom button, to the confirm button. So then here we've got your info. You'll see a little, oh, this actually came up really well on camera. But you'll just hit the bottom button again to confirm. So now we're gonna continue and this will start the backup. Again, do not unplug your upgrade memory. So we'll let this kind of do its thing. It's gonna take a couple of moments. All right, so the backup is complete. We're gonna go ahead and hit this bottom button again. And hey, it's complete. Next step, it's gonna go ahead and patch and update your Vital bracelet. So again, you're gonna leave this alone. Don't mess with your upgrade memory. Don't mess with your Vital Pet, just leave it be. It's gonna take a little bit to patch. Kind of just let this do its thing. Go grab some coffee. This part should be a little bit faster. Okay, so looks like we've hit 100%. We can go ahead and confirm. And look, the upgrade's complete. Isn't this adorable? Isn't this so adorable? All right, so now, again, you'll be able to hit this bottom button to confirm. We're gonna go ahead and unplug this. All right, and then we can close our door as well. So here, I'm just gonna continue on, sure thing. So we're gonna add a DIM card. We'll just take the one included. So we'll let that do its thing. Okay, so we're finishing up here. This is honestly like one of my favorite parts. It sounds really silly. This part makes me so happy. Wait for it. Look at this. Check this out. Remove the dim? Sure. Look at that. That's so cool. So I'll go ahead and just pop this back in. All right, and then again, just to briefly go over some of the features here, you'll notice that there's an evolution timer on the front screen now, and we're gonna go ahead and do a couple of things here. First and foremost, we gotta change the background. So founders should have this background. We also have a special background by Kai the Shy, our top tier designer donator. So this is a custom background that he chose amongst polling the community. So special thank you again for doing that and for believing us throughout our entire journey. It's been super fun, and honestly, Kai, I really appreciate the support. So we're gonna go with the Vaporwave one because I'm very proud of this one. And then you'll notice here that if we go to the vitals, sorry, this is really hard to show up on camera. Maybe I shouldn't have chosen this one. If we go and do this, oh, did I cancel it? Oops. But you'll notice here that the resting heart rate will show 65, and then after 5 minutes, it'll go back to its stock value. So you should see in the near future that this guy will kind of just be A-okay. And I could really leave it here and then just kind of do its thing, and then you'll notice that the heart rate will kind of just reset naturally on its own after, look. So you'll see now it's at 116. So the only changes in regards to keeping your pet alive now is going to be footsteps. So you do, if you want to maintain vital values, you do still have to walk around or shake this thing every few minutes. So you do still need to be active, but you don't need to wear it on your wrist anymore. And the calculations that Heat and Cyanic have done to make this a little more user-friendly and to make it less egregious with losing vitals is going to be a lot more usable. So that is the overall process. Again, everything looks pretty good. I'm super happy with the way this turned out. Again, let's take a look at vitals. Again, still going crazy. So just kind of keep that in mind whenever you're doing your checks. It is just kind of automatically updated via software, not so much by the sensor itself. But that's it. You're ready to go. You're ready to rock. Thank you to everyone who stuck around for this video to kind of see the process. Thank you to everybody who believed in us and stuck around and kind of provided feedback throughout this whole project. It's been very fun. It's been very eye-opening. Thank you to everyone who's had the patience with us as well, and for continuing to support us for all of the nonsense that we've gone through, for everyone that's been on Twitch and YouTube and Kickstarter and Etsy, for everyone that's given us the kind messages. It's been a journey, and we couldn't have done this without you guys. So that's been everything. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, please leave them down below in the comments, and I'll be sure to answer them. If you guys are looking for more information about the Vital Pet, you can find everything on veek.design. The links will be in the description. And with that, I hope everyone has a great day. Peace.